This is Roy Wooten, and this is day 4 of our just kind of self-publishing, establishing our voice, and it's sort of establishing our ideas. And I'm having a discussion about, the idea of being able to develop, this orchestra. I don't want to give the name of the orchestra yet until we achieve this, but what were you asking me, Cynthia?
So, what do you want to do with it?
What do I want to do with the orchestra? Well, basically, when I'm thinking about the orchestra and I'm thinking about the principles that, Russell Brunson, and they're talking about this new era of self-entrepreneurship and self-funding. And so I'm imagining, with orchestras, with this orchestra that I want to develop, a large group, I can see the basic theme of the orchestra. There's music that we can play, right? But before the music is just the fact of the way the orchestra exists. And so when we look back in orchestras back in the day during Mozart's time, Beethoven's time, in large groups, they were always supported by the government of the day, the king, right? If the king's assistant told Mozart too many notes, then he had to change his stuff because he's subservient to the funding that's allowing him to do his thing. So if we jump to today, I think it was Simon Rattle was talking about the El Sistema program in Venezuela. It's keeping kids off the street. It's giving them something. The vision of Maestro Abreu, who started this vision, is like Nobel Prize winning stuff. In fact, he was nominated, Maestro Abreu, I think 3 times. He lost to Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, and I am Mala. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. So he's been on that Nobel Prize radar. But even in these modern times, the funding was dependent on the government. So in this study, what we're doing now is looking at the possibility where they say they feel like getting venture capital on this is cheating. There's a new way of developing money. And so I've always felt, like as I'm developing stories too. And I've been researching and developing the screenplay and the music around the Chevalier St. George. Now, the Chevalier St. George is around the time of Mozart, right? And you think about Mozart, again, they're supported by the government. The king is paying for everything. But when Chevalier St. George comes, he marks a break in that old way to the subscription model, right? He was a great orchestra leader, and actually he became like the first great conductor in the modern times of Europe, right? And what they established was the subscription model. People would pay money, the same way you do an Adobe or Amazon subscription. The stuff is so cool, you just go to subscription, Amazon Prime, So he had an orchestra where people were paying money to just subscribe. We going to the concerts, right? Now they don't have to take the money from the government. They don't have to take the money from the king. And it made the orchestra quality just go up, right? The quality just got so high that it got to like 60 to 80 pieces, what we know now. And that became the greatest orchestra. Man, I'm just sort of geeking out right now. But that became the greatest orchestra of Europe, where the younger Mozart preferred to stay in France in poverty in order to have his works played by this orchestra. And this is the orchestra where the Chevalier St. George commissioned Haydn to write the Paris Symphonies and was conducted by this orchestra. So what I'm looking at as I'm geeking out about what we're learning is just the idea that they talk about being able to self-fund, right? And that getting venture capital is cheating, right? Can it be that, wow, you can generate something that can generate its funding? And so I sort of been looking for an answer like that, because that is the step after the Chevalier St. George. From the time of before Chevalier St. George, with Haydn and them, they're dependent on the government. They're dependent on the king to fund their small orchestras. When they went to the subscription model, they were able to establish what they call an Olympic orchestra, 80 pieces, And so the excellence went higher. But that subscription model is what orchestras, where we're at now, right? So what is the next step after that? Wow, can the orchestra self-fund, right? And I predicted the quality goes even higher. So the question you asked in the beginning was, well, what are you going to do? And it was more like, how do I want to do it, right? Mm-hmm. And if we can achieve this, I get a chance to take a baton from the Chevalier St. George to this is how we can do it today, right? And I watch the quality shoot higher, because to me it's like the starving artist is a cliche with artists, you know, the starving artist. If you think about somebody that's starving, you know, they got to beg for survival. You know, they got to beg for the basic stuff. And if you don't have to beg for the basic stuff anymore, well, wow, then you can actually like do some other stuff. And it's not just the survival stuff, but like, wow, you get into aesthetic and things that you don't even know. It's kind of like the caterpillar just can't imagine the butterfly. If the caterpillar sees the butterfly, he doesn't know the butterfly is related to what he is, what it is right now. So it's like, what do I want to do with a large group like this? Wow, I think the sky is not even the limit now, but it's just a matter of just opening up the window. So that's my blog for today. As we go on, our whole mission this week is just to start to find their voice. So I'm just geeking today. They told us we were going to be bad, so I want to be bad and have fun at it, right? So you hear me kind of rambling and ranting, but there's an imagination behind it. We're learning these principles, you know, from Russell Brunson, talking about expertsecrets.com secrets, and I'm in the middle of a one funnel away 30-day intense challenge where we start learning the principles and beginning to apply these things. But in the back of my mind, that's what I'm thinking of, being able to do something and take the baton from where Chevalier St. George left it and say, this is the step that we can accomplish today. So this is Roy, Futureman, Wooten. That's my story for today. I'll see you next time. I'm out.